Good evening and welcome to yet another knowledge sharing session of HR Rainmakers in our knowledge sharing series. So today we have another relevant topic for all of you HR professionals and all the hiring managers and senior management as well. It was coming from by demand by some of the HR professionals that we should do a topic of data science and specifically how to recruit data scientists. So today we have invited among us an expert in data science, Ms. Neeta Mathur, who is a data science expert, CEO, Marketways Arabia, and she's a trainer in statistics and data science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. So we are going to learn so many things today. I'm already getting excited, and we are going to bust myths around what exactly goes in recruitment, what skills and competencies are required for recruiting data scientists, what kind of skills organizations should expect while recruiting data scientists when there are few data science experts in the organizations itself, since it's a comparatively new field in the market. So I guess because we have not heard about data science 2-3 years back, statistics and analytics was already there, but data science per se has become a buzzword these days in all the organizations. So let's hear from Neeta herself. What goes in around data science and recruiting specifically data scientists, and what are the myths around recruiting data scientists, and what are the mistakes people do? So without wasting any further time, it's over to you, Neeta. I'm getting very excited. Let's hear from you. Over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Shamita. Appreciate the time so that we can discuss about the myths and the realities which are surrounding the topic of data scientist. So I'll just make my screen bigger. Yeah. All right. So let's get going. What is a myth versus reality for recruiting of data scientist? All right. I think Shamita has already given some introduction about me, so I will not go through the details. But yes, I have got more than 30 years of experience in analytics, statistics, etc. And in terms of data science experience, just to give you an idea, we do trainings, we do recruitment support in terms of evaluation, providing data scientists, interns, freelancers, etc., as well as doing consulting. And we can talk about it a little bit more towards the end. Now, what is our objective today? The objective, as Shamita explained, is all about dispelling myths and mysteries about data science and how to recruit data scientists. And why this has come about, as Shamita said correctly, the topic is pretty new. So people don't know, there is a lot of confusion, and that is where what we are trying to do today. So we are saying it's called data science, it's not called data magic. Okay, talking to some of you guys, I got the feeling people expect magic to be done by the data scientists. So here we are trying to explain what is this whole data science is all about. By the way, all the memes that I have taken in this PPT are all from a very nice data science account in Instagram. So all are sourced from there. So today's agenda, we'll start with what is data science, a very short intro, because the focus is not just about what is data science. If required, we can talk about it again later. But what are the myths associated with who can be a data scientist, and also what are the myths associated with recruiting data scientists. And then I'll go about a little bit talking about on how, what are the tips on how to recruit data science successfully, and then maybe what further support can be provided. The way I have planned the session is that we'll have about 40 minutes of presentation and then question and answer, because only through your questions, we will understand what are the doubts that you have. So please feel free to ask any question, and we will try our best to, to explain that. So the first question is, what is data science, right? So anybody can explain what you think what is data science? As Shamita said, there's a lot of buzz about it, but a lot of people have different meaning. But in general, a very simple reality of what is data science is that it's just an umbrella term which includes many skill sets. But the main focus of these skill sets is to use data for better insights in decision making. And ultimately, the goal of data science is to create business value. So this is what is data science in a very practical manner. There are many components of data science. So what are they? And you must have heard of these words. You must have used, talked about these jargons, heard about these jargons. So what are the main components? The first component is statistics and math. I'll explain why each of them is important in a minute. Then languages, programming languages like R or Python. Machine learning, a lot of us have heard this word. I will explain what it is. Deep learning, artificial intelligence, and business domain knowledge. I would say these are the 6 main components of data science. And if you think about data science, basically, this is all the mystery about it. But when you take out data science in the very core, basically, it is all statistics. So that has to be very clear. That's just a statistics. It's a new tool that we are using to use statistics, which is with a lot of hype and buzzwords like machine learning and so on. Now, many of you might have seen this data scientist Venn diagram. It's a very popular Venn diagram. It's made by one US data scientist called Drew Conway. It is quoted and shown everywhere in the world. Okay, according to that, he shows that there were 3 main areas of data science skills: business, programming, and statistics. Okay, and people have made it more advanced, and they have also added communication. And it's a very interesting diagram which shows that if you just know business and nothing else, then you are like an accountant, just counting the numbers and so on. If you just know programming and nothing else, you are a R hacker. I mean, you're like a hacker. If you know only statistics and nothing else, you're like a data nerd. If you just know how to communicate and nothing else, then you're all hot air. Okay, but a good data scientist, if you see, is that intersection where you have communication abilities, you have statistics abilities, you have programming, and you have business abilities. So let's go one by one to see why do we need these abilities, so that the concept is clear of what type of a skill a data scientist needs. So why statistics and maths? Okay, so it's as the picture says, when you start machine learning without calculus, basically you're shooting yourself in your foot. So that's exactly what the this thing is saying. And then why do we need statistics? Because it helps us to interpret the data correctly. It helps us to analyze the data correctly, and we know whether we are doing the making the right decisions or not. And statistics is basically the main foundation of data science. Why programming and languages? And for example, R and Python, because we need to be able to communicate to the computer what we want it to do. So that's why necessarily you have to learn some kind of a language, or in the olden days, for example, you used MS Office or Excel, etc., because you can give the instruction and the machine is able to do something. Why R and Python? Because these are open source languages and very quick growth. So they are evolving very, very fast. They have a lot of good capabilities. They have wide range of statistical analysis, visualization. They can create predictive models and so on. So they are very, very handful, not just language, they have a lot of other capabilities as well. Why business domain knowledge? Obviously that because if you have no idea of what you want to do, then data science is of no use. Sorry, this is an occupational hazard with me. My dogs will also join me sometimes, so I'm sorry about that. I'll try to keep them as quiet as possible. All right, so remember, data science is a tool. It's not an outcome by itself. Okay, how you use a tool for doing any work, same way data science is just a tool, and ultimately the objective is to use it in context of a business decision or some kind of an application. So remember, we use a tool to arrive somewhere. That's why business domain knowledge is very necessary, because then only you know what are you going to do with the data science techniques that you have, you might have learned. Why communication ability? Okay, you can go crazy explaining the data science projects. It's as it is, it's pretty confusing, all the data and the relationships and the patterns, but you should be, a good data scientist should be able to explain the concepts properly to the user departments. Not only they should be able to explain, they should be able to first understand the requirements properly, and then create a good data science model of whatever is required, and then explain the insights effectively to the different level of stakeholders. And they should be able to talk in that language which the stakeholders use. And they would, the stakeholders necessarily may not be people who know data science or statistics. Now, so these were the 4 components of being a good data scientist: communication, statistics, some programming language, and what else? Business domain knowledge. So these are the 4 pillars, or you can say the foundation stones for knowing data science. Okay. Then we see the word machine learning. A lot of people see the word machine learning. What does this mean? Machine learning means training the machines so that they can understand the patterns in the data, and it can replicate it for future automation and prediction, because ultimately you want to, the artificial intelligence, etc., or data science is all about trying to make decisions for the future. And if we don't know the future, we can only depend on the past data, and whatever past data patterns have happened, we want to be able to use for the future. So that is what machine learning is called. And machine learning does nothing but understand the patterns in the past data and does the same thing. So if your mother says, if your friends are going to jump off a bridge, will you jump too? So machine learning will say yes. Okay, so remember, machines can be dumb. They will only follow the past pattern, nothing more. All right, so this is what machine learning is, just understand the pattern and do it. What is deep learning? Deep learning is self-supervised learning, where the machines are training themselves. Okay, so we can bring the machines to that, we can evolve the machines to that extent that machines can decide themselves what are the important parameters, what are the patterns, and they can start looking for the patterns and train themselves. And this is from the deep learning, where we go to the next step, which is all about AI, artificial intelligence, where we make automated decisions and we do automations of things which are repetitive tasks and so on. So this is in a nutshell what is data science all about. Now, if you look at what are the different type of data science jobs, okay, so it's an umbrella term, so there is a lot of confusion about it. But I would say there are 3 main types of data science jobs that we can look at. The first one is data engineers, who are basically responsible for storage of the data, processing of the data, and so on. So they are mainly worried about the admin or the storage part and accessibility part, how to get the data quickly, how it is arranged and so on. It would be something like the data warehouse admin people from the traditional earlier days. Then you have the second role, which is data analyst. Basically, their job would be to get the data, data mining means, bring the data out and do some cleaning, do some processing on it and so on, and analyzing. But data analysts are basically people who analyze the past, what happened, why it happened, basically looking at how many customers we had yesterday. So business intelligence tools like Tableau, Power BI, etc. They are the things which are basically used for data analysis. So it's a beginning step of data science. And then when we talk about data scientists, basically we are looking at people who are able to interpret the data. So they can see something happened. They can look at possibly what are the causes that something has happened, why it has happened like this. They're able to use that information to predict what will happen. And they're able to create automations which can take decisions in an automated manner, or create automations for the future. So these are the 3 main roles. And within the data scientist, you can think of a little bit more advanced level, which are basically your AI professionals who might be, for example, writing a program for making a self-driving car. All right, so these are the main type of jobs. So again, to give it in a nutshell, what is data science, and what are the different jobs about it, and why each particular component is important. I'll give you an example. When we talk about self-driving cars, there's no one driving, so the car has to have a program which says that if in the front a car comes or some obstacle comes, the car should stop. Okay, so you can program the car to do that. The main question here will be, the car should stop at what distance? At 2 meters distance, or at a 4, that means if the obstacle is in front of you in 2 meters distance, or 4 meters distance, or 8 meters difference, when should the car stop? So that decision, how to decide that amount, is the importance, because if you make it, let's say 8 meters, so what will happen? You will find the car is stopping at every moment, because at 8 meters distance, you'll have many obstacles. So you will have a very safe journey, but it will be taking too much time. in case you go for 2 meters distance, what will happen? Your journey will be quick, but you will have high risk of having clashes or accidents. So to how to decide whether 2 meters is good or 8 meters is good, we have to look at the past data, past accidents, and this number could be different for different roads and so on. And looking at the past pattern, we can decide, and this pattern will come from statistics, and we can then say that, okay, what is the probability that there will be an accident if we have a distance planned as 3 meters? What is the probability of an accident at 2 meters? What is the probability of an accident at 4 meters? So this decision, which comes of 2, 4, 5, which is the most crucial decision, is coming from statistics or maths. The programming part, where we are telling the machine that, okay, stop as soon as you see an obstacle, that is coming from R and Python. The business knowledge is that, okay, the road, which road the car is moving on, what are the other environmental factors, etc. So that's how each of these components play up when we talk about data scientist or the data science role. Okay, so there are some questions. Mohan has asked some questions. So Mohan, can we take the questions at the end?
Yeah, sure, Nita, you can continue. You can take it at the end.
Sure. So, so these are the three kind of roles, and this is a very broad segregation I have given because there is a lot of confusion in this area as well. Now, why is data science mysterious? So this is a big question. Why there is so much mystery about it? So is it rocket science? So, well, data science is not rocket science, but it is not far away. But the main interesting difference is that if you have a rocket scientist and they need to practice their skills, they need rockets. But your data scientists, if they want to practice their skills, they can do it very easily, free resources through YouTubes and so on. And because of that, what happens? You have a lot of people who are into data science, but with half-baked ideas and half-baked knowledge. So because of that, the confusion comes up. You will not find a rocket scientist course being offered on YouTube, because rocket scientist actually works on a rocket. So it has to be a very, a very serious study. So these in confusions and myths actually come from the fact that a lot of people are working on data science without perhaps knowing all the important components or the basics about it. And this is why we will talk what is it that is needed to be a data scientist, what are the facts and what are the myths around that. So the first myth is that a data scientist needs to have an IT domain expertise. Now, this is a complete myth, but a very popular one. To the extent, most of the organizations, they keep their data science team within their IT department. So the point is, data science has nothing or as much to do with IT as any other domain like finance or marketing or HR. But it has got everything to do with the statistics. And again, statistics is an applied subject. It has to be applied in a functionality. So it's a tool. So this is a misconception. A lot of people come to asking that, okay, I'm an IT person, so I want to get into data science. It's very nice, but it's not mandatory. Similarly, second myth is that they need to have some prior programming skills. Again, this is a half myth because as we discussed, we do need some kind of a programming skill, but you don't need the traditional programming skills like Java or SQL or C++, etc., because you have to learn these languages like R and Python, which are very easy, very English-like. And so you don't need to be like a traditional programmer to learn data science. Then analytical skills, people ask us that. Now, this is not a myth. You need to have the basic analytical skills to appreciate and use the data science techniques. But the good part is that all of us are born with some analytical skills, in fact, like logic, reasoning, critical thinking, etc. And we use them all the time in our daily life. So everyone has analytical skills. And the good news is that we can enhance our analytical skills. So that is very much necessary. So if you're in a role where you're doing some analysis, and in fact, every role will have some kind of analysis to be done. So definitely one can get into data science with that. Then statistical knowledge is definitely not a myth. It's a reality, and one needs to strengthen the basic analytical skills with the understanding of the statistical concepts. And as we talked about, it's very important to make sure that you're interpreting the data correctly and using the right statistical technique. Okay, now business domain knowledge. Okay, so you don't expect your data scientists to sit in one island and keep coming up with some nice machine learning algorithms. So business domain knowledge is very much a definite must for becoming a good data scientist. And without that, without the business applicability, data science has no value. So again, as I've been repeating, data science is just a tool. It's not an outcome, and it can be applied across all functionalities, all industries, and everything. So these are some of the myths. Okay, and strong communication and storytelling skills. So you don't want to confuse your listeners with such crisscross, which actually the data scientists see in their data. You will see and this is all data science is all about, to see the relationships and the crisscross pattern in the data to understand what is happening. But when they explain it to their audience, they should be able to not confuse them, but give them very clear insights on what is happening and what is the relationship of the data. If they are not able to explain, then what will happen? Right decisions will not be, the company will not be able to take the right decisions, and the contribution of data science will become absolutely zil. So this is a very important factor, that you do need to have strong communication skills to be a good data scientist. So this was like a background on what is a data scientist, what is the skills needed for being a data scientist. Now we come to the main topic, which is what are the myths which are associated with recruiting data scientists. So there are a lot of interesting ones here based on what my experience has been with the recruiters and our students or our people who are data scientists when they look for jobs. So the first question is, why do you need data scientists? All right, and most of the organization, this is what they get. I want answers. So obviously, yes, data scientists, as a data scientist, you will be able to provide answers, but it needs the right context, right skills, and the right framework. So remember, data science can provide answer, but you cannot expect the data scientist to give you everything like a magic pill or something. Now, question is, what can data scientists do? So can one data scientist provide all the answers? All right, so there are two kinds of data scientists: those who can extrapolate from incomplete data. So that is it. So yes, you can get the data scientists who can work with the incomplete data. But again, it depends on all organization sizes, challenges, etc. When is one data scientist enough or not? Okay, maybe you need to have different data scientists for different departments, or maybe you need to have a data science team with different data scientists who have a specialization in different business domain and so on. So it's an example. I think last time when we were talking with the core team, I think Rahul had mentioned that earlier when MBAs became the buzzword, companies were hiring just one MBA. But today, if you think about it, one MBA for the whole organization doesn't make sense, because MBAs have to be specialized. So you have people, MBAs who are in finance, you have MBAs who have marketing, and that's the skill that they have, mainly the business domain knowledge, and then they can work accordingly. Same thing for data scientists. If the organization is small, then maybe you can have just one data scientist, but otherwise you may need a team of several data scientists with different skills. Now, this is interesting. Specifications to apply for data science jobs. Okay, so you have your job requirements. Most of the jobs ask for so many years of experience of using so and so, but the guy who has created that framework has done it 2 years back. But people ask for experience of 5 years, 8 years in data science. Okay, and then extra things. I want masters, I want PhDs, I want 10 certifications. So that's not really required. You have to see what is that you need in terms of the job role. And remember a very important thing, as Shamita mentioned, data science has become like a buzzword in the last 2-3 years. That doesn't mean that there was no analysis being done before that. It's only the tool which has changed. The business realities are almost exactly the same. So you may have a person who was working in marketing, for example, and now they have done they have done a course in data science. So they can still work for your company. Doesn't necessarily mean that they don't have 5 years experience in data science, so they can't work. So this is a very, very important factor. We have to remember most of the people who work in data science today are young people, and average age globally for the data sciences, average experience is 5 years globally. In this region, it will be even lower. So if you're expecting 8 years of data science experience, then it's a kind of an overkill. It may not be needed. Some of the latest packages in data science like PyTorch, etc., are just maybe 1 year old, 2 years old. So you cannot expect people to have a number of years of experience before that. What one needs to look at, whether they have the right business domain knowledge, the right analytical skills, and what are the new techniques that they know. We'll talk about it a little bit more when we go ahead. Okay, what type of softwares do they need to know? So when you, supposing you were going to hire a driver, do you ask them that, do you know how to drive Toyota? Do you know how to drive Nissan? Do you know how to drive Mercedes, Porsche, BMW, etc.? No, because you just look at the core skill of driving. And if the person knows the core skill of driving, they will be able to pick up the different car driving. And it's exactly the same way for the different languages and different packages. So you don't have to ask them to know everything. There are new programming languages which are emerging all the time. They do not need to know all. And it's very easy to pick up a new language once they know the basic languages. So if they know, let's say Python, it's very easy to pick up R. If they know R, it's very easy to pick up Python. If they know Julia, they can do R, they can do. So it's all mixed up. So you don't really need them to know each and everything. So when you're advertising, it's important that you can say that, okay, they should know this, or this, or this, or this. It should not be specified that they should know all, because this creates a lot of confusion. Something like this. So here you have a recruiter asking, the candidate is saying, I'm experienced in ggplot2 and dplyr. And then the recruiter is asking, but can you code in R? Now, most of the people who know data science will laugh about it, because ggplot and dplyr are components of R. And it shows that the recruiter doesn't know what he's talking about. So because of this, you also have these cases of candidates who write like this in their job profile. Very famous stories. You will find a lot of LinkedIn profiles like this from data scientists who write all of the things they know. And then they also say, I typically ask recruiters to point out which of these are Pokemon, means which are not applicable, which are not real languages. So it's a dilemma which creates a confusion between recruiters and the candidates. A lot of candidates don't apply for jobs because they think that they need to know this and this and this and this. So you lose out good candidates. And on the other hand, a lot of good candidates, the ones who are extra confident, they don't even bother to apply, because they say that if the recruiter doesn't know the right questions to ask or right specifications to give, then no point in applying for that job. Even if you see in this LinkedIn profile, R, dplyr, ggplot, these are all same things. ggplot and R, I'm just giving you the like little bit of a detail that they're part of R. So there was no need for that guy to repeat it, but he has repeated just to show that he knows so many things. And sometimes the recruiters get carried away by seeing so many names, and they're not really necessary. So a very clear specification of what is needed, or clear specification that, okay, you need to know one of these or two of these, that should do the trick. What skills do you really need? This is a good question. And again, a lot of funny memes I found. And again, most of them are from US, because, the data scientists today tend to be more in US than any other region. So it says, when you advertise, it is artificial intelligence. When you hire, it is machine learning. And ultimately, when you implement, it is just linear regression. Linear regression is one of the basic concepts in applied to statistics. So ultimately, what it shows is that even if you go for a lot of hype and buzzwords, ultimately what you will actually work with might be something very, very basic. So again, no point in getting the looking for a candidate which knows lots of things, but ultimately requirement might not be so much. So important thing is, based on our experience in consultancy and so on, we find that most of the business organizations, their current data science needs can be fulfilled with the few basic machine learning algorithm, or the very initial basic data science skills. And as the organization grows in terms of their data science maturity, then advanced skills will be needed. So if you are going to recruit the first data scientist, or you're going to make a small team of data scientists initially, you need not look for very, very advanced skills. You can start in small and then grow as you need to. And remember the Pareto's rule, it applies in data science as well, that 20% of the techniques will actually do 80% of your data science work. I keep telling our students the same thing, and also it is equally applicable to the consultants and the data science users, that few main techniques will give you all the possible result. It's very rare that you will need very advanced skills. Okay, this is another myth. Data science will create brilliant machine learning models. Again, what AI models they want versus what data they give, complete disparity. Not only that, there are a lot of other constraints which you will find once you start working practically in a work atmosphere. maybe the process to collect the data, the resources to collect data are not there. There is no clean data, maybe to make the models on. Very important, lack of data science familiarity amongst the managers and the users. So they don't understand, what data scientists will be doing. They just kind of expect some kind of a magic, which may not be possible. Also, sometimes based on our experience, we have found there is hostility in terms of, you have these people who know these nice jargons and they know some modeling and so on. And sometimes the, their seniors or other people in the organizations might feel hostile towards them and not provide all the required support. So these are some of the constraints the actual data scientists kind of work with. So again, another thing is, as we said, these are the 3 core skills. Of course, communication is there, which I've not included here, but mathematics, software coding, and domain expertise. These are the 3 most important skills for a data scientist. However, you will find people who have these all 3 skills are very rare. They are considered like unicorns, someone who has software experience, someone who has domain expertise, someone who knows maths and statistics. Mainly, these are people who are in their late career, very senior people. And they will be able to have such good expertise in these all the 3 domains. And it might be very difficult to recruit them. They might be working as a consultant and so on. So what one could also do is pair 2 or 3 data scientists with complementary skills. So if you have someone who's very strong in mathematics, you could have someone who's very good in coding and someone who's very good in business domain experience. So you could create a team with complementary skills without needing a very large budget. So these were some of the myths which are associated with recruiting the data scientist. And based on these and the things that we have talked about before, these are my suggestions for 7 tips for recruiting data scientists. The first one is create a clear understanding on what is data science in your organization. So this is the a role of senior management, HR training, and so on. It's very important that the user departments as well as HR, they understand what is data science, what is the significance. I think significance, more or less people know about it today, but how it can be used, what it can do, and very important, what it cannot do. So this clarity, this kind of familiarization has to be provided to the management so that they have the right expectations from the data science. This is the very, very first important background work one has to do even before you think of recruiting a data scientist. Secondly, if someone asks you, a user department asks you that they want a data scientist, you have to ask them for a roadmap in terms of, what is the data science maturity level of the organization? Because you might hire the data scientist and it may not work out and your initiative might fail, which is a very expensive mistake. So you have to see what is a roadmap of how data science will be integrated in your organization. What are the data problems that need solving? What are the priority projects which are very important and need skills related to that? Based on that, you can decide what are the business domain skills needed, what are the data science skills that are needed, and what support and constraint are available if you do hire someone. So this is a very important one. And again, some of the things that you need to see as like a red tag is, do you have someone in the organization who can act as a leader and be a visionary in terms of creating a strategic roadmap and help to build data science practice from the ground up? Okay, because as we said, without the suitable infrastructure and the support, usually the data science initiative will fail. And as consultants, we have seen this happening many, many times. Also, what happens, it will result in your data scientists that you have hired after so much difficulty, it will result in their wanting to leave the job or not feeling very happy. And so the whole, the purpose it's lost. Third is, if you feel that your organization is not mature enough to host a data scientist, there are other options available for you. And these options are very popular in West, in US, UK, etc. You can hire freelance data scientists. There are websites like Kaggle and many others where they, hold up projects and they, get freelancers to come and work. And people, a lot of data scientists are doing that. They work as a freelancer. You can take interns in data science. You can have the consultants so that the user group works with the consultants or the freelance data scientists, etc. And then they get the feeling of what data science can be used, what it cannot be used for, what are the challenges, what are the, what are the things to be done before data science can be used, before a data scientist can be hired in the organization. And then only if you feel at the last stage that you are ready, then only go for recruitment. So if you do some research on that, you will find freelance data scientists. This is very, very common, especially in UK, US, etc., where the data science field is in existence since about 7-8 years. In our region, the field is there only since about 3 to 4 years. So we still have to get used to the concept of having a freelance data scientist and interns, etc., but it works pretty well. Supposing you have decided that no, you do want a recruiter, you do want to recruit a data scientist, and you have made sure that there is a proper support system, etc. Then you need to see what are the business problems and opportunities you want them to address. And as I mentioned, if the business problems are simpler, then go for a data scientist with not that advanced skills. So I mean, grow gradually, basically. Then you need to see what are the different data science profiles. And as with any business or any functionality, you will find data scientists come from various background and various expertise. So like you have HR people, some HR professionals are very specialized in performance appraisals. Some are very good in training management, some are good in some other things. So same way, data scientists also, it's not like one person will know everything. They might be having their specialties in certain areas, and you need to see whether those specialties match the skills that you need. So look at what is most relevant to your problem space, which skills are most important. Don't go by the hype that the person should know AI or they should know this or that. So create a realistic wish list of skills needed. So as I said, don't go by buzzwords and hype. Make the requirements realistic and suitable to your operations. So do you really need a PhD? So if you are going to work in the advanced area of research, so remember, data science is used two ways. One is it's applied, that you use it as a tool for marketing or HR or any other function, or you could do research in data science and come up with new models and new algorithms, etc. So if you're going in that space, then you need someone who has a PhD and who can work as a advanced data scientist, creating more machine learning, more type of models in statistics and maths. But otherwise, if your requirement is more business applicability, then perhaps you don't need that. In US and UK, it is very popular that they hire people based on how many Kaggle competitions they have, how many Kaggle jobs they have worked for. And as I mentioned, Kaggle is one place where a lot of freelancing opportunities are available for data scientists. So, but that's a good indication, but not necessarily. Sometimes you may have a good data scientist who have not, participated in any Kaggle competition, but it still would be a good fit for your organization. Similarly, 5 to 8 years of experience, do you really need that? And as I mentioned, globally, 45% of data scientists have average 5 years of experience. So having asking for 8 years experience, 10 years experience makes no sense. And as I mentioned, field is very new. A lot of young professionals are entering the field. So obviously they will not have that many years of experience. So you will have to work in a very realistic manner. So you'll find most of the time a professional who has a bachelor's degree, but good understanding of statistics and good business acumen, who has a good business domain knowledge and an analytical mind, can be very useful fit for you. So you don't really have to go for a lot of high skills, at least initially. And as we talked about, advertising the job requirements correctly, don't ask them to know everything. Just ask for the things which are most important to you. Then comes something which is very important, which is beyond the data science skills. They might be very good technically, but then you need to see how do they work in terms of other things. So problem spotting, not problem solving. Problem solving, obviously the data scientists will be aware, they will know, but how to spot a problem, because they should have that curious mindset to say, oh, something doesn't seem right here. How can I use data to solve that problem? So that is because they need to have critical thinking, mental capacity. Now, this is very important. People who work in data science, they would have seen this. When we are trying to run a code, when we are trying to make a model, sometimes it doesn't work. And we spend ages, hours go by very easily, very fast in trying to correct it. Okay, and it's our mistake because we don't go to the documentation and we just keep trying different things to get it right. So that mental capacity has to be there. They have to be flexible, adaptable, patient, etc. Listening and communication skills I've talked about. passion and curiosity, as I talked about the problem spotting, honesty and humility. This is very important because see, we do not have data scientists because they're humans, they can make mistakes. Okay, so if they have made a mistake while making a model, they should have the humility and they should have the honesty to explain and to reveal that this was a mistake. Otherwise, what will happen? The organization will take decisions which are completely wrong. So this is very important. And there should be such a support structure behind them that they do not mind sharing that, you know, there was a mistake. So that honesty, etc., should be there. Collaboration, team fit, and very important, value seeking in terms of a practical manner. So they should not be just talking about jargons or something. The ultimate, you know, as they say, the proof of the pudding is in eating. So they should be able to demonstrate that they are trying to do these all nice words and hype, nice models, etc. Ultimately, these models should be able to add some value to the business. So these are some of the other skills that one should be looking for. Now, if you're going to, once you have decided all of these, you know, what are you looking for, then you need to create suitable evaluation and testing mechanism. So my suggestion, based again on our experiences, that do not use off-the-shelf tests and case studies, because they will really test what you're looking for. These are just made like a one standard test, and at best they'll be just checking some bookish knowledge of you know, some definitions in statistics, some formula in statistics, etc., which will not help. The user department has to put in the effort of creating a real life business scenario and the questions. So they cannot just pass the buck and say to HR, please, you know, get us a good data scientist. They have to explain what is good, how the data scientist will work in that department, and they have to put in that effort. If supposing they don't have the effort or the way, you know, the qualifications to do it, then you can take a help of a specialized data scientist consultants who can understand your business model, etc., and then create the right evaluation for you. Very important in interviews, etc., do not ask wrong or inappropriate questions. For example, just because they are a statistician doesn't mean that you will ask them probability riddles. Don't ask questions related to, you know, statistical formulas and things like this. Don't ask programming codes, because codes are like a language. One can always you know, find the codes, and people can write the codes in different fashions. So there's no one standard code. Do not ask obsessive question. Now this I have seen in you know, in practice in some places, where what happens is sometimes the interviewer, just to show off their knowledge to a data scientist, they will keep asking very hypothetical, obsessive question. What happens this? What will you do if this happens? If this happens? If this happens? So it doesn't make sense, because after a particular point, the hypothetical questions you know, do not make sense. So the idea is that always focus on the context on the concepts and knowledge, and basically ask questions of substance. Now, what do I mean by questions of substance? Questions which allow the candidate to demonstrate their knowledge of the concepts that they need to do data science work. So, for example, you could ask, what is linear regression, and in terms of, you know, when have you used it, when does it work well, when will you use this technique versus that technique. That shows whether they have understood the concepts behind the statistics, not really the statistical formula, because in today's age, you can get the formula in 2 seconds from internet. Definitions also you can get in 2 seconds, but do they understand the concept? Similarly, what type of you know, experiences the candidate has in terms of applying a theory or a modeling technique to solve a particular problem, what value was created, what were the challenges that they faced. So this whole context explaining is very important, rather than the technical jargons. So so create those kind of substantive question, and that will also help you to see whether the person understands the concepts, they can apply it, and if required, they can upskill themselves while on the job. Definitely use case studies for in-depth evaluation. So give up, you know, normally most of the organizations do that today. They give candidates a problem to analyze. It lets them demonstrate their ability to take the information and convert it into a data science framework. They can use it to show their ability to process the data, extract information, draw conclusions, create models, show their programming skills, as well as their maths, statistics, and business skills. So case studies work very well. However, make sure that you give the data sets which are real and clean, because if you give some artificial data, the data might be not good enough to create models on. So it will, you know, it's like if you're trying to do something artificial, it will not make sense. Don't give them data which has to be clean, because Usually cleaning takes a lot of time, and the person would be spending a lot of time in cleaning rather than creating the models out of it. Don't make the problem so complex or time consuming, because it's not fair that the person is working on your project for just to as a part of the interview process. Very important, give them opportunity to ask questions, so that once the data has come in, they should be able to ask that, what does this mean? What do you want us to do? In fact, this is a very good indication that that person is a good data scientist, because data can be interpreted in many different ways. The requirements can be interpreted in many different ways. And only through a question seeking method, you can be sure that the person is trying to get all the requirements and then starting to create a model. So this is a very important part. Give them the opportunity, and also notice whether they ask questions or not. And very important, give them an opportunity to present. I have seen in a few cases where the case study has been given, the candidate has spent a lot of time doing the work, and they are just asked to email back the answers. Now, data science, like any science, is a creative work. There are certain fundamentals, but you have to be creative in the way you write your program, the way you have thought through it. So that when the person presents, that is a time you can see the communication abilities, you can see whether his logic or her logic is making sense. It gives a good opportunity for the candidate to explain why he has done this model and not this model, why this technique versus that technique, and so on. So this is very important. Don't ask them to do a case study and then send the results by email or something. Today, with the Zoom call, it is very easy to interview anybody in any part of the world. So they can present a one-to-one session or with your team. So always give them an opportunity to present so that you can understand their logic and see whether it makes sense to you. And similarly, the candidate has a chance to explain why they have done a particular thing. Lastly, while you're recruiting, also look at how to build a data-driven culture that supports the data scientists. So make sure that they are, whether your company culture will support them or it will be against them. If the correct culture is missing, what will happen? The data scientists will struggle to add business value, and then ultimately what will be happen is that they will be blamed that they were not a good data scientist. It will be actually the other way around, that the organization was not able to give them the right right support. So plan beforehand that which department they will fit in. It has to be part of some business functionality so that there is some credibility for them, there is an accountability, and there's a proper feedback and interaction system with the rest of the business organization. So this is very important, that once they have joined, how do you support them, make sure that they are they are in good hands and they are getting the required support to do what they want. So these were the 7 tips from our side, from my side, in terms of how to look at how to recruit a business data scientist. From our side, very quickly, I'll just go through how we can help. We do provide trainings in terms of awareness, familiarization, etc. We provide support in recruitment in terms of customized evaluation, conducting assessment, providing CVs in terms for the data scientists, interns, and freelancers. And we have a very interesting way where we give you 4 levels of data science solutions. So you could, any organization, if you are not sure of your maturity level for the data science and you want to use it, you could offer competitions to our students, like a small project, which is 2 to 4 weeks. You don't have to pay anything, just maybe a token prize or a certificate to the winning team. You can hire our students as an intern for 4 to 8 weeks, give them nominal internships and the stipend and certificates. You can hire the alumni as freelancers. And of course, if the problem is more complex, you can hire the consultants. And for all of these, our faculty provides a support to the students. We should make sure that everything is done in a, there's a confidentiality NDA is signed, and faculty provides the guidance to the students. So you're actually getting good information, good support from the faculty, and you can try out the alumni as a freelancer or as intern. And the same culture which is there in West of using data scientists as freelancers and interns, you could also bring in that culture till you are ready to start recruiting correctly. In terms of a student skill set, they are able to do everything right from cleaning the data to creating very advanced machine learning models. So again, if you have certain needs, you could get in touch with us and we can talk about it more. And as we discussed with the core team last time, if you are looking for some more data science type related topics, Shamita and Mr. Mohan can look at, and we can plan to offer some more awareness trainings of this sort. So this is all from my side. Thank you so much for listening. And if you have any questions, we can take those now.
Thank you, Neeta, for showing us the light. We were in the dark until now. So a lot of things we have learned.
Most welcome.
I open the house for any questions. If anybody is having any questions, please come up. You can unmute your mic also and ask Neeta. Is anybody having any question? Mohan has typed one question, Neeta, in the chat box before, which says, can one have a dual role of data analyst and data scientist?
Yeah. So, Mr. Mohan, what I would like to explain here, data analyst is an initial step towards data science. So you can think of it as a very basic role in data science, and then you have more advanced role in data science. So yes, data analyst and data science can be one person. And depending on your organization needs, if you are doing more work with the past data, then you can you can hire someone who has more analysis knowledge, and they don't need very advanced knowledge of machine learning, etc. But if your organization is trying to use the data for prediction and for forecasting and creating predictive models, then you will need someone who knows more than analysis. But yes, the work can be done by the same person. So the dual role is definitely possible. The reason I mentioned that data analysis and data scientist is different, because if you're looking for data scientists, you don't need them to know Power BI or Tableau. Power BI and Tableau are typical business intelligence tools which are used for analysis. And if you're looking for analysts, then you don't need them to know machine learning. So it's like an overkill if you go for if you're looking for an analyst ultimately, and you want them to know a lot of machine learning algorithms, then that person will feel frustrated after some time because they will not get to practice their skills.
Thank you, Neeta.
Thanks.
Basically, what I understand, Neeta, the answer to this question is when analysts are the ones who are basically churning the data and only doing the analysis part, not the implementation part, right?
No. Analysis is basically data analysis, people who are working with the past data and just talking about what happened. Okay.
Storytellers, yeah.
Once you know what happened, you can think about what will happen tomorrow. So if you're just going to talk about what happened, then that's an analyst role. But if you want to see what happened and use that for what is going to happen tomorrow, then you need these machine learning skills for creating the machine learning. Then you need a little bit advanced statistical knowledge of prediction.
But now even business intelligence guys are doing the predictions. So how we do draw the line in between?
Right. So the business intelligence people might be doing prediction, but they might be using very simple, the more simpler techniques. So, I mean, as far as I know, Tableau, Power BI, etc., they do have some capabilities now because of the demand. Even Excel has not, Excel also has way to create some predictive models today. So if your work is mostly related to analysis and not that much of prediction, then you can work with Tableau, Power BI, Excel. But if you want to go more deeper into prediction, then of course they need to know analysis part for sure. But analysis is the first step, and machine learning is the second step. Okay. So if your organization is more looking for the future aspects, then you need to have someone who knows more skills than simple Excel or Power BI and so on.
Raju is asking how to develop the data point framework.
I think, Raju, you mean data science framework? I think he might have typed it wrong. It may be meaning data science framework. So, yeah. So for data science framework, as I talked about, the important thing is to look at the organization, the users, and see what are the challenges they have, what are the areas that they want to, want the data scientists to work on. So decide what are your main areas, make like a wish list that I want to solve this, I want to solve this, I want to solve this. Based on that, create some priority projects. And once you have got those list of projects, then based on that, you can say, oh, the first important project is for the marketing. So the person should have a marketing domain knowledge. I need to do forecasts. So I need to have some machine learning techniques and not just Excel and Power BI and Tableau information or knowledge. So based on this, you can create a kind of a framework. Start with that. And of course, as with any framework, you'll have to keep fine tuning and keep evolving it all the time. Does that answer your question?
My question actually, when we are having a data, like thousands of millions of data with us, we have to pick up the data points which are relevant to the that particular problem. So how to, means the person has to build that skill, means which are the things he has to look for when we are creating some sort of a case is there or the problem is there, which are the data points we have to pick up,
correct,
analyze and come out with the solution.
Correct. All right. So this is where statistics come in handy. For example, I'll take an example. Let's say you are talking about creating a system. Let's say for the banking industry, you want to create a system to see if a new customer comes in for loan or credit card, should we give them credit card or loan because they may default. So how to predict that this new customer is going to be a defaulter or will he be a good customer? So let's say you have a lot of data for your customers. You have their gender, income, nationality, education level, how many years they have worked in, what is their age, so many different data points you might have. Which ones are relevant is a question of cause and effect. Whether gender affects the defaulting defaulting pattern. If it does, then we need to include gender data. Whether the age affects the defaulting pattern, then yes, we need to include age data. How do we find whether gender affects? So there are statistical techniques to do that. For example, there is something called statistical significance test like t-test, ANOVA, etc. And the linear regression model, if you that is a cause and effect model. This is exactly what it does. It sees whether all of these, let's say you have 10 different data points. Of these 10 different data points, which ones affect the default pattern? So only 6 of them do, 7 of them do. Which are those? A regression algorithm will be able to do that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You mean to say which data points are consequential to what we
Correct.
want to find out?
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
I think Nita, that will come with the domain knowledge, I guess, right? Data point framework, how do we get it? That will come only from the domain knowledge, right?
Yes, Mohan, you're right. It will come with the domain knowledge, but within domain knowledge also, very true, it will come with domain knowledge. But let's say, just because of my thinking, I assume that gender makes a difference to the credit card default. But does the data shows that or no? So I may have a wrong perception in my mind. And statistically, I might find that no, gender makes no difference. So business domain is there, knowledge is there. Over the years, people will know that no, gender did not make a difference. But how do we confirm that? That will come through very definitely through statistics. But yes, of course, the business domain knowledge is needed to know which are those 10 different data points. In fact, most of the time what happens, let's say for the default, we talked about 10 different things: gender, nationality, age, etc., etc. Maybe there is one more item like where did they study from? Okay, nobody thought of it till now, but perhaps you will find that where did they study from makes a difference to default. So just because in traditional business domain knowledge we did not think about where they studied from, doesn't mean that that may not be an important factor. But if we have the data, then we can check for that also, and we might be surprised. And this is in fact one of the big advantage of data science, that it takes us beyond what we know through business domain knowledge.
Okay.
What is the role of behavioral science in data scientists?
What is the role of?
Behavioral science. Like just now, we are talking about the different data points and all. It is related to the behavior of the people who are approaching or in the businesses. So is there any relevance of behavioral science in the data science work?
Yes, yes, definitely. So we might, for example, find, if I'm talking about the same example of credit card defaults. Okay, so behavioral science will include some aspects of what is the person's attitude towards money, maybe some other behavioral aspects. So if you have the data for that, you can see whether that makes a difference to their defaulting pattern or not. So depending on your question and business questions, it might be requirement, and sometimes it may not be needed. But if you're talking about, let's say, employees' productivity, then definitely behavioral science aspects will make a big difference. And if you have data about the behavior of the employees, in fact, a study has been done where they found that you can predict whether an employee will stay in the organization or not based on how they respond to the emails. So the people who are ready to leave or who are looking for jobs, you will find that in their behavior pattern, they start sending emails to the colleagues for work-related emails, very brief and very, to the point, without greetings, etc. So a case study was done to this and to check this, and they found that there was a clear pattern that people. So this was this is a sign that a person is going to leave. Of course, in UAE, it doesn't make attrition is not a big issue. Nobody wants to leave, so it's not a big deal. But in other countries, how to make sure that the employees stay with you.
It's interesting, yeah.
Or attrition is a very important part.
You're right. You rightly said it, Nita, because I faced this challenge in India, especially the attrition.
Right. And especially in industries like call center, etc., where you have a lot of big teams.
Even back offices, for that matter. Engineering back offices.
Yeah, even in Dubai, I think now with the delivery agents, etc., with so many delivery companies coming up, this is one of the issues that they have. That there's a lot of churn amongst the employees at a lower level. So how to stop that churn?
I think in India, it's the biggest issue. I mean, as a recruitment consultant, even I have noticed this huge difference between the Gulf and India.
Right.
So attrition and plus even the customer retention.
Correct.
These all predictions.
But I think that way you guys are lucky over here. You don't have to worry about attrition management here.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Like a huge difference.
Actually, apart from the attrition point of India now, what I'm noticing is apart from people resigning and leaving voluntary, involuntary termination, absconding employees are becoming more. They don't even resign, or they just abscond because they get another job, they leave and go. Nobody that's become another issue. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I wasn't aware of that.
Everywhere. The work is everywhere. Be it India, be it any country. That happens everywhere. Even in UAE happens.
Absconding in UAE is difficult unless the person is not on the company's visa. Then it's difficult. Otherwise, if they're on the company's visa, then there are certain regulations which protect.
No, if I'm a freelancer, freelancer, I can switch anytime because I don't want to working with you. That is the concept which is developing because now due to the freelance visa, this new type of people are coming in the
right. Yeah, so that's true.
They said we don't like it. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks. No, at least basically in UAE and all, in case of maybe it may happen in low-level jobs, but what happens is they ask for a service certificate, or high-end jobs, they go for a reference check and all those things. But in India, it doesn't happen like that. We have engineers, senior engineers leaving jobs and getting absconded. Earlier in UAE, it was absconding. Absconding employees used to be they go on leave, they don't return or something like that. Now with the freelance visa coming in, but again, when you're looking for a higher designation, we definitely ask for a service certificate or reference check in UAE because it's a small world here. But India, it's difficult.
Rita, can you tell something about storytelling? One point was very beautiful and it gained my attention. I'm always attracted to know more about storytelling related to data analytics or data science. So how it goes and who does it? Are they data analysts or data scientists who are doing the storytelling?
So storytelling, I mean, both data scientists and data analysts can do it. Just to clarify again, if you think of, let's say, if you think in the roles in HR, you might be having a junior HR, you might be having a senior HR. I'm sorry, I don't know the designations properly, but a junior HR and senior HR, same way, junior data scientist is basically a data analyst. And a senior person would be a data scientist who knows more stuff. But storytelling is needed for both, because I mean, do you really enjoy sitting and listening to the data and statistics? Nobody does it. So it's quite boring. Yeah, I mean, because I mean, I was in the market research field, so I remember giving presentations in market research. So if you have to drive home a point, you cannot keep showing a lot of tables and graphs and so on. So it has to be like a storytelling where people get attracted to the point that you're trying to make. So storytelling is something which is, you're expecting a lot from the data scientists. They need to know statistics, they need to know computer, they need to know programming, and plus they need to be able to give the information in such a fashion that it comes to the point. They don't get very engrossed in talking about the data and this technique or that technique, because people will not understand what is this versus that. They should be able to say that, okay, this is the problem we are facing. For example, in this example, I talked about emails that, the emails that the people who are planning to leave start writing short emails. So how did they arrive at that conclusion is not important, so much important, as long as they're able to convey that it was done in a statistically robust manner. The important point is that as per our so-and-so modeling, we found that the people who are planning to leave write shorter emails, and you can start seeing this pattern 3 months before from their leaving, something like this. So you don't want someone who keeps explaining how they arrived at making a model. So the funny example I give is, for example, if you're calling someone for dinner, okay, you make a nice dish. You don't keep explaining to that guest that how you made that dish. You won't say, oh, I got the vegetable, I peeled it, I cut it, I did this, I did that. You just serve the final dish, right? So that's what the storytelling is all about.
True, correct. Thank you, Neeta. Yeah, so I mean, what we can conclude is serving the platter in a most simplistic form.
Yeah, in a nicer way.
Going in complexities which a layman would not understand.
Absolutely. And if you make it nicer platter, that means nice visualization, something which they're able to understand, they're able to appreciate. And by eating a nice dish, they will automatically understand that you have put in a lot of effort. So the only thing to convey along with that is that it's all done statistically correctly.
True. Each and every point statistically is done correctly, then only it will come out as a nice platter. Great.
Right.
So do we have any other questions, or should we conclude? I think it's already 7:47.
It was an in-depth presentation. Thanks, Neeta, for taking time off.
No more. You're most welcome, Mohan. It's a pleasure. And happy
Great. So thank you everybody for participating. We had a good number of participants. We were not expecting, because this is a very niche kind of topic we discussed today. And thank you, Neeta, for shedding light on so many myths which got busted today around how to recruit data scientists, and what is storytelling all about, how what are the skills and competencies one should keep in mind, organizations should keep in mind, specifically the senior management or HODs or the HR professionals, how right and complete data and a right cultural fit would suit a data scientist go and be in the company for a long way. So thank you so much, Neeta, for today's presentation. We look forward for more presentations from you in the future on some related topics.
Sure. Most welcome, and happy to do it as you guys wanted. We can always discuss and create a series of presentations related to data science.
Thank you so much. And good evening, good night, everybody. Thank
Okay,
you.
good night, thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Shamita, for organizing this. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Shamita, for organizing. Thank you.